welcome back to bodyhavensoaps. My name is Darlene and I am the owner and creator of bodyhavensoaps. On this channel, my goal is to help other creators create and provide information that I have gained and learned over time. Now, I did have a couple questions, you guys, whether I was licensed or I had taken schooling for this and that kind of stuff. I just want to clarify that this is all self-taught through research and information that I have learned, okay? Just so that everybody is aware of that. All right, so this is just stuff that I've learned over the 5 years of all of the research and everything else. And I'm a need-to-know person. I need to know the why, so I ask a lot of questions myself, okay? So that is what this channel is. We go over how to formulate recipes. I do share my recipes with you as well. We will get into business information and all of that kind of stuff ongoing on this channel. Right now, because I'm trying to rebuild my soap company, we are going over formulating the recipes. We have gone over how to calculate your recipes into percentages and batch size your recipes. We did a quick little video on preservatives and understanding the importance of preservatives. We have done a video on what to look for in your formulations. Okay, today's video is going to be on stability testing, shelf life. Okay, we did do a video on shelf life of the ingredients we purchase, but we're continuing on that series of shelf life of your product once you've made that product. So we talked about how to calculate that, okay, and get that information to the best you can. Without laboratory testing, it is, I would call it a guesstimate, but we want to be the best at it we can, so we do all of our research and information. All right, so stability testing. First of all, when do we start stability testing? Okay, so stability testing will start once you're done that formulation. So let's say that I was designing a new product. I would come up with the formula. What product did I want to make and what did I want to have the properties in that formula? So I come up with that and I figure out which ingredients are compatible with each ingredient. How can I add this? I figure out the pH range it needs to be in for the preservative that I want to use. Does that preservative work with those ingredients? All of those types of things. So I do all of my research to get that formula. Then I will then make a 100-gram batch, and I will make that 100-gram batch and I will test it. I make it. That is the very first time I make my formula. Now, when I make that formula, I then will go through the process. Does it look right? Okay, does it have the appearance that I want it to have? Okay, is the color what I want it to have? Is the viscosity of it the one that I have? Is it too runny? Is it too thick? All of those types of things. Okay, and then I want to have odor. Does it smell good? Sometimes when we mix a couple different things together, we can get this odor that we really don't like. Maybe we don't want to use that essential oil or something else. So that is where I'm going to figure it out. Because just even between fragrance oils and essential oils, you guys can make a big difference in a recipe. So we get all of that figured out. Once I've got that first batch made, if it's not the consistency I want it, or it's not the color I want it, or it's not the velocity that I want it, I can now go back to my formula and I can adjust my formula how I want it, okay, to make those changes. I can come back and make another 100-gram batch and I go through the whole thing again. Sometimes I will make 6, 7 different batches. I've made sometimes a lot more than that to get the product that I'm looking for. Okay, once I've got that mastered and I've got that product to the exact viscosity, color, smell, absorption into the skin, it absorbs well, doesn't leave a greasy feel, all of those types of things, I've got it to that point. Okay, now I need to test that product. Does it stay stable? So this is where the stability testing comes in. Okay, and you guys, as far as the pH goes, I am going to bring up pH a number of times in this video, and I have ordered that pH equipment. You guys, I did lose it all in the flood, so I have ordered it. It should be in this week, and then I'm going to do a video on testing pH so that people understand how to properly test pH, because there is right and wrong ways of doing that. So that's coming up, all right? But for right now, we're just going to go on to the stability testing and when we would test the pH in the stability testing. All right, so when we're looking at stability testing, we're looking for change in the product. Now, in saying that, no product ever stands still. Not for the little tub of lotion I have here. It's not going to stay exactly the same for the 12-month shelf life I've gave it. This is not going to stay exactly the same. What we're looking for is they're always going to move, but how fast do they move and how stable are they? Okay? We want a very slow, undetectable, preferably, shift in our product. That is what the goal is. Okay? So did my emulsification stay stable? Was there any separation? Okay, did it become more liquidy than it was? Did it become thicker than it was when I got it to that consistency I wanted it? Did the color change? Did the odor change? Did the pH change? pH will drift, so we want to make sure that it's still staying in that range, because for one, if a pH drifts too far, our preservative becomes ineffective, which can be dangerous. If a pH drifts too far, it can cause irritation to the skin. Okay, so we need to be able to check that pH throughout this process as well. We want to make sure that pH is not drifting at a high speed where it becomes, it affects the product to a point where it becomes unsafe. So that's what we want to look at when we're checking for stability testing. So once I've got that down pat, I will make a 200-gram batch now, guys. And in that 200-gram batch, I use these little 2-ounce containers, and I have multiple ones for the same product. And I have little containers that I take and place in different parts of my home. Okay, because we could, if we wanted to, send our product to a lab and have it tested, and they would do an auxiliary test on it and all of that kind of stuff. The only thing we can't test at home, you guys, is really the bacteria growth. Now, when we talk about bacteria growth, as I mentioned in the previous videos, you know, we can see mold, we can see crystallization, we can see all those types of things, but we can't actually see the microscopic growth. So that's the only thing a lab can test that we really don't have the capabilities of. I mean, they got all that fancy equipment, but we do the best we can with what we got. Okay, so I will take one of these tubs and I will fill it completely. Okay, just like I would package. I will package it exactly how I would package this to sell it to a consumer. I will take another tub and I will fill it half full. I want to make sure that in this tub I have enough product that when I use my pH tester, that I put it into this product, that it will completely submerge and get onto that globe that tests the pH. So I make sure that I have this at least half full. All right, and I will write the date, you guys, on the bottom of all these containers of when this product was made. So I have a start date, and I document it on there in case there's any confusion. I do have papers that I use to document all of this, which I have to remake because I've kind of lost all that stuff. But I will get you guys a copy of the little tester sheet that I do. I'll remake one and get it out to you guys, okay? But anyways, this is half full. I have a tub in my soap room, or had a tub in my soap room, where all of my tester samples go in for pH testing. It is labeled pH testing samples. That is where I keep all my pH equipment, so it just stays in my soap room, which is a little bit cooler, so to say, and that one will go into that tub. Then I take another container and I fill it half full, and I have a tub up on top of my fridge, which the fridge puts off quite a bit of heat, so I use the heat from that as my warm environment sample. So that sample goes into that tub for my warm evaluation. Okay, I will then take another one and I half fill it and I put it in a tub. I have, well, in my bathroom I don't have a tub, I have a drawer that's specifically for my samples, and I take and I put that sample in my bathroom, which is the humid environment, right? People shower, bath, all those kinds of things. It's the most humid environment in our home, and bathrooms actually contain the most amount of bacteria, so one goes in that drawer. I take another half container and that goes in my bedroom. That is my normal room temperature sample. And I have a tub in there for my samples, and I actually will use that. I check for absorption into the skin. It doesn't leave a greasy feel. Does that change? All of those types of things. So that's the sample I keep at room temperature, and I actually apply to my skin. And then I have one more sample, and this seems like a lot, you guys, but I just have little tubs because it's not like I have, you know, 50 different ones going on at the same time. This is just my accelerated testing and my longevity testing. So I have a ton of recipes that I've done all the testing and documentations for it. And the only time I have to go back and retest that recipe is if I change the method that I process that in, or I change ingredients in that. So once the testing's done, I don't have to go back and test that recipe again unless I change something, because now it's a new formula. Okay, so it's not like I have 100 million samples going on at once, and they're just really little containers that are out of the way. Okay, but I have a little container in my fridge as well, because I keep that one at the perfect temperature in my fridge, because that's where everything is going to preserve the best. Okay, so that one is in my little fridge that I have. Okay, and that one will be kept at that perfect, you know, 4 temperature, okay, 4 Celsius, and that's where I will keep that at. All right, so now I've got all of my samples where I need them to be. Okay, now the one that I filled full is the one that I do my accelerated testing on. Now, theoretically, if we're going to test products, we would do them over the full lifespan. So I have this lotion that I made that has hemp seed oil in it. It has infused herbal oils in it. You guys, I actually have a video on this where I made this one back in October, so you can go back and look at that. But that's where this one comes from. Okay, so this one here, because of the hemp seed oil, and you know, it's one of those faster deteriorating oils, and it has the infused herbal oils. This one I have put a 12-month shelf life on it. This has gone through all of the accelerated testing and everything else, but this is because of those factors. That's why I've given it a 12-month. Whenever I give a best before date or whatever for my product, which isn't required in Canada or the United States, I believe. Okay, in Europe they're required to put it on there. There's a bunch of regulations over there. They're a little bit more strict. However, I still put a best before date on my products just out of respect for my customers, but best before, and I give that a 12-month best before. Okay, now something like this that has all oils, waxes, and this is my lip scrub. Okay, this I give a 24-month shelf life because there is no water in it. Water can come in contact with it, right, because it is a lip scrub. And this one here is my heel salve, which does have some herbs in it, you guys, but there is no water in it. And this I give a best before of 24 months. Okay, so those are just a couple of the examples that I have here. I don't have a lot of product hanging around. These were just samples that I had in my testing stuff that were in my upstairs bathrooms, and they're only for testing, so I've kind of hung on to them because these were the products that I was going through. Now, they all have their dates on them, and I put a best before, okay, so that they're used best before, okay. I think in Europe they also have like a best after opening. I'm not sure. Europe has got, or the EU has got way stricter regulations than we do. I want you guys to keep one thing in mind though. They have it in black and white writing over there. In ours, it still states in black and white writing that it is the maker's responsibility to ensure safety of the product. Okay, so essentially we're still told that we need to make sure that that product's safe, but we're not required to do all of the label requirements. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't have documentation for it. Okay, so I document everything because that's just how I safeguard myself and I safeguard my customers. All right, so does that make sense so far, guys? So now with our accelerated testing, those products that I have put in those locations, I will keep them for the whole best use by date. Okay, so if this is 12 months, that product will be in those tubs or in those locations for the full 12 months, and I will test it once a month. These products 24, they're there for 24 months. I mean, that's why I still have these products in there, is because it hasn't been 24 months, right? So it's kind of where I am, and I've got to start a lot of this from scratch. I've obviously lost all my documentation. I really need to learn to document on computer saved locations instead of all paperwork. So I've got to start a lot of this from scratch, okay? But I'm just explaining how I was doing it and how I will continue to do it. All right, so now with the accelerated testing, you guys, I will take the full container, okay? And this one container here, this healing hemp seed oil and infused herbal oil, cranberry lotion, and I did a video on this before so you guys can see how this was made, has gone through the full accelerated testing. Now accelerated testing, okay, is where I'm going to put this product through the ringer, essentially. So the very first thing I do with this product, you guys, is I will package it exactly how I will package it for the customers. I then take this product and I do the best I can compared to what labs will do to speed up the testing process for you, because obviously if we waited 24 months for a product to be tested, it's a long time before we can get stuff on the shelf. So this is how we can speed up the process but still have a good idea of how they're going to perform. So I'm going to take this product and I'm going to put it into my freezer. I'm going to allow it to freeze, and then I'm going to pull this product out and I'm going to thaw it, okay? And then I'm going to take a look at it. Did it separate? What is the velocity of this product? Did it become runnier? Okay? Did the color stay the same? Did it change the odor? Okay, those types of things. And I will also test the pH. Did freezing and thawing it create a pH drift? And then I will put it back in my freezer, and then I will thaw it, and then I do the exact same thing, the pH, the color, the velocity, and I have my little paper that I jot everything down, okay, that tracks each product. I put it into the freezer, I take it out, I let it thaw, and I do this 3 times. I think 3 times is adequate. Okay, if my product can freeze 3 times and thaw 3 times and it still stays the same consistency and it still stays the same color and the pH doesn't drift a huge amount to where it becomes a problem, I'm okay with that product. Okay, I'm pretty confident that product's going to stay stable for that 12 months. All right, so that's what I start off with. Then I will take this container and I sit it in the windowsill. Okay, and I will leave that container actually there for 2 or 3 weeks, where, you know, the sun shines on it, all of those types of things. And really what we're trying to do is mimic what customers might do with our product. Okay, and you know, every week I go back and I take a look at it and I look for color change, velocity change, pH change, all of those types of things. Okay, now once again, you guys, pH is really important to test on a regular basis when you're going through this, because pH drift can make that preservative ineffective. Now I've got that bacteria thing, the one thing that I can't test for because I can't test at a microscopic level. If the pH drifts too far, my preservative may become ineffective. So that's what I'm testing that for, because that's the best I can do without using a lab. Okay. And then after that, you guys, and I have done those things to it. So it's been in the sun, it's been in that warm location, it's been frozen and unthawed and everything else. And it's still sticking, you know, in that pH range that I needed. It's still sticking with its color. It's still sticking with its velocity, those types of things. I'm pretty confident. So I take a month and a half of testing before I actually put, sometimes depending on the product, I will put a couple months of testing into this, of just doing random things with it to make sure that this product's going to last for my customer. So that is how I go through doing it. and I document through the whole thing, and I keep that documentation for every formula I create. Now, for instance, you guys, this formula here I absolutely love because I did freeze and thaw this 3 times. It did sit in my windowsill for the 4 weeks. And then we flooded. So now my house has no electricity, it has no heat, it is a really humid environment, all of those types of things. And no, I'm not using this product after the flood, and I would not sell any products after the flood. However, this is just a sample that I kept because this was a video I had in mind to just show you what a product can go through. Okay, so through that time, because it was months before we could even get back into our house, 6 weeks before we even got back in to see how bad our house was. And then in that period of time, it had power, it had no power, the gas was shut off, so I had no heat. It was the beginning of winter time. We did get temperatures of -20, all those types of things throughout that period of time. And of course we did the basement before we even got upstairs, and all of this was all upstairs, okay, in the windowsill upstairs, actually in my kitchen. So this was not directly affected by the flood. It was just in a house that was under some very harsh environments, and all of those types of things. So it was probably, I don't know how many months this would have sat in the window, 3-4 months before I started getting to the upstairs where I was cleaning and washing walls and everything. And there were these few products that I decided I was going to keep to do a video later on before I got rid of them. I just sanitized the outside of the containers and kept them for this video. Now, that's been through all of that, and I want you guys just to check out the velocity and everything of this product. So if you look inside there, I don't know if you guys can see that, it is a pretty thick consistency. I can shake that and it really just doesn't really move too much, right? It's still a nice thick consistency. I mean, I'm sure if I slammed it on the container it would come out, okay? But hopefully you guys can see that. It is a nice consistency. It has not gone watery. It has not separated. The color still looks really good in the product. All of that kind of stuff. There's no water residue on top. There's no any signs of mold or anything else growing in this product. And just out of an example, you guys, you know, when I scoop that up, it's got that cream consistency that you can see, okay? So in saying that, you guys, like this recipe, this formula, I'm pretty content with. I'm pretty impressed. Now, obviously, I still have the recipe for this, so that's awesome, because I did do it on YouTube as well, and I did have it documented in my computer. So this is a formula that I would definitely keep. Obviously, I'm not going to use this lotion itself because this is my tester and it's been through everything. But I'm pretty happy with how this held up, and that's what I mean. Like, I'm pretty confident when I now go back to make this formula that this formula is going to hold up really well. That I definitely have that 12 months. I probably have more than 12 months. I go a little bit lower, and that's why I do things in small batches, you guys, is simply because I would rather produce more fresh product, okay, than I would to have out, you know, I make these in 6 container batches, okay, if I'm doing the 8-ounce containers, and I'm switching all to glass as well, which I believe are 9-ounce, but I do 6 of these in a recipe, and then when I start to get down on that, I'll make another batch of 6. And does it keep me busy? Yeah, but I have quality in product, and that is important to me. So I do everything in small batches, handmade, and that's why the small batch handmade products I'll go for first, rather than these products that have the really long shelf life and that type of stuff. But I wouldn't go make a batch of 100 jars and say you have a 12-month shelf life unless you have the customer base support to do that. I make a number of different products, so in saying that, my customers have lots of options, so I don't want to have stuff sitting around too long. But I'm pretty confident that I've definitely got the 12 months in this product, okay? Same with this one, you guys. This here is getting close to the 2-year mark. And after this video, these will be thrown away, but this is the lip scrub. And the reason they're getting thrown away is just because of the flood and stuff, guys. Otherwise, I would probably continue testing with them. But this still has a beautiful consistency to it. There's no water. There's no condensation inside. It's still the consistency that I developed it at and wanted at. Obviously, I can't test the pH in these products until my pH testing equipment comes in. But I'm pretty confident in the quality of them. Here's the heel salve. This one here is at 16 months. You can see that it is a nice spreadable consistency still. It is still nice and, you know, a good quality product. So I'm pretty confident in the shelf life of that formula that I've created in the past. So these are formulas that I definitely will be doing again. Okay, 1 second. I'm just going to wipe my hands off here. So now, in saying that, you guys, so this is going to be, you know, these are my oil and wax based products. This is my emulsification product. So there's some examples of that. And in my chart, you guys, I will have, I have a place at the top that will say the name of the product, the date it was made, and I have, you know, little rows, okay, and one will be pH, so that pH is tested once a month, and at the top will be the date. So there's columns that go this way. I put the date, I do the pH testing, I have a spot to put color change, if any, okay. I have another row that is velocity, okay. Did it become runnier? Did it stay the same form as what I created at? Did it become thicker? That type of thing. Odor. And then performance of product. So how it absorbs into the skin. Did it change at all? So that is what I document throughout that whole process. Okay. So just some quick little additions I'm going to put on the end of this, you guys. A soap bar. These have years, okay, of soap life. But what I do with my soap bars is I take whatever formula I have, because I do have multiple different soap formulas that I do, and I like to experiment. So I'll take a bar and I put it in my drawer in my bathroom. I don't put it in the freezer and everything else. This soap bar just goes in my bathroom, okay? And periodically I'll pull them and go through them, and all I'm looking for is rancidity in the oil. So when I make a batch of soap, I do a super fat of 5%, which is a good rate to do it at. If you do a higher percentage of super fat, you're going to see rancidity happen faster. Now, whatever that super fat is, the oils that are left behind that do not become saponified. So if I do a 5%, I have 5% of this product that could still go rancid on me. You guys have probably heard it called the dreaded orange spots, those types of things. And that's what I look for. Do I see color change? Am I seeing any orange spots? That type of stuff in my soap bar. And I don't test lather test right away because I've already done that when I formulated my soap recipe. However, after my bar's been in there for a year or so, I actually had bars that were over 4 years old in that drawer because I was just playing around with it because I like to do stuff like that. I'm a Y person. So, and I will actually then cut that bar in half, and I will use that half, and I test lather. Is it still lathering the way it should after that many years, right? That type of stuff. So that's what I do with my soap bars. In saying that, you know, it's going to happen. You're going to get those orange spots once in a while, but I haven't had it happen too often, but I just do that. So soap bars are pretty easy because they last so long, and really it's just that super fat that we have to worry about, the oils going rancid in. Okay, they've gone through that whole chemical process. So soap bars have years of life. The biggest thing with soap bars is going to be color and your scent that you put in it. Essential oils will start to deplete faster than a fragrance oil. I love using essential oils, so you know, I keep them around to check for that. All right, and different essential oils will do different things. So documentation, once again. There's just one last thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is going to be your active ingredients. So these are actually shower steamers. Okay, and I sell fairly good size shower steamers, which I'll be making again soon. For those, but shower steamers is a one-time use, okay, and I do use water in the beginning to bloom my baking soda. However, they are left out to dry with the dehumidifier running, and that water is evaporated very quickly, so we don't use a preservative in these, but they essentially could have years of shelf life. Really, these do have essential oils in them, okay, they do have menthol in them. And they do have that active ingredient of a citric acid. Now, menthol, I don't think I've ever had an issue with it becoming inactive. I mean, it's pretty powerful and it's there. Essential oils, we could lose that essential oil scent out of them. These are specifically for aromatherapy. But the biggest thing that we want to note is those essential oil smell is still there. So they still have that really good aromatherapy fragrance to them. And we also want to note the active ingredient, because now I have citric acid in here, which is my active ingredient to create that foaming in the shower and create that, you know, aromatherapy. I do have them, and this, you guys, I made these in September last year. So I do have these that were in my bathroom upstairs. That's where I keep them. I do have them where I sell them as individual shower steamers in jars. So I'll put like 10 shower steamers in a jar, individually wrapped for single-use items that I will do. I do use the single-use items in some of my gift boxes, stuff like that. One thing to remember, I use a biodegradable shrink wrap, okay, and I don't shrink wrap these because it's too hard for them to get them open at that point, so I just close them up in the shrink wrap and in here. But that biodegradable film with the menthol and essential oils in that can break down, but it takes a long time for it to break down. You get it wet, it breaks down faster, but it will eventually break down, that biodegradable film, so depending on what you're packaging it in as well. But I have them in the little single use, so when I do a batch of shower steamers, I will do the big ones, okay, because some customers prefer that, and then I do the single use ones that I put in these little jars, and then I have a date of when those ones were made, and I'll use them for my personal use, okay. So that's generally what I'll do, is I'll pull them out and I'll try them. Are they still active? Are they still working at that period of time? Okay, so just an example, I do this in my shower, you guys. Just so you guys can see here, let me move the camera a little bit for you. Okay, so essentially I do these in the shower, you guys, and I just use them myself and test to make sure that I'm still getting that nice fragrance from them and that they're still having that fizzing effect, that type of stuff. But essentially, you just, if you didn't want to use them or you couldn't use them for whatever reason, you could just take them and dump them in water and see if they're active. Now, these were made on September 20th of 2021, okay? And you could just simply take this and drop this in some water and see if it's still active. So as you guys can see, this is still very active. I can smell the peppermint and eucalyptus coming off of that. If you guys can see how much that is foaming, there's quite a bit of action there. I know that these are still quite effective. Okay, these are still going to be effective shower steamers. And in saying that, you guys, I expected it to be. This is all I have for an example of this, and this was September 20th, so that's not that old. Essentially, they could have a huge lifespan. But, you know, I just go through all of the testing. But, I mean, essentially they last for a long time as long as that ingredient is active. So you can see that that ingredient is active. These don't go in your bathtub. They go on, I use mine in, I have a little soap dish that I just set this on the side of my shower and spray water on it while I'm showering. Some people will take these and put them in the shower. That doesn't work really well with the small ones, just the really big ones, and that's why I make those. I just put them on the floor in the shower, but they're big enough that the aromatherapy actually, you know, lasts for that period of time. But these still have lots of smell to them and they're still really active. Okay, Okay, so that is what we are looking for in our products and how we test the stability of our products. Once again, you guys have any questions, you can just ask them down below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. That does help my channel. I greatly appreciate all of you watching my videos and the support that you give me, and we will see you again soon. Have a great day.